Hey, Deserving listeners, Love is Blind, Season 6. Let's watch.
I've just been hearing some things that just sound super familiar.
All right, well, they're going right for it. And if this is the sequence, this would be the way to go. If you're AD, it's just like, I gotta meet with Matthew because everything depends on how that conversation goes. So let's see how this goes. I'm just trying to think what he could possibly say that would vindicate him. I guess the only thing is, well, yeah, I did say those things to, what was her name? But that was before I realized what I learned about her. So you and her were really the top of my list, and I couldn't really figure out which one to be with or which one I wanted to say that I wanted to be with. And I mistakenly went for that one, and then I found out what was going on, and or I started really falling in love with you. And so I thought I told her that it was over, or I haven't seen her yet I don't know, just that would be pretty sus, but I think that's the only thing, because he couldn't possibly convince her. That never happened, because, that other woman didn't even know that AD was with Matthew, so that other woman isn't, or at least I don't think she would. Either way, she's saying the exact phrases, so there's no mistaking what happened there. So let's see what he says.
Like conversations that you've been having that just kind of sound like the same conversations that we were having.
You're talking about Amber?
Yeah.
Amber. Yeah. Okay. So AD is either worried about being super confrontational and just laying it on the line, or she wants to see what he would say without much information, which could be a good strategy, to say a general thing and then see what he says, because he could dig himself into a hole further, indicating his personality more or his morals more. Like if he says, well, yeah, I was sort of connecting with her, but I never committed, and I never said what I said to you, or and then she'd be like, well, yeah, you did.
I left here like so validated and so secure, and to hear the things that she was saying, it like really messed me up.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Now, I kind of hope AD just corners him a little bit, and because we haven't heard from him, he's just sitting there. So I hope she doesn't give him a lifeline here, because he needs to be challenged on this.
Like really messed me up. She was very open and candid about the things that you were saying, and it just kind of sounded exactly what you said to me.
That's not true. What I said to you yesterday was not what I said to her today.
Okay. So now maybe, I don't know, if he is a con artist, or he is conning or trolling or something, then maybe he doesn't know that Amber said the major bullet points that he had told to AD. So maybe he doesn't know that, and so he's in his con trying to sneak out. No, she's mistaken. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Because it would be, if he is a con artist, then it would be logical to conclude, or at least reasonable to conclude, that Amber would just say something general, like, oh, Matthew's really into me, and that she wouldn't actually say the exact phrases, right? So hopefully that gets addressed.
What I said was, man, this sucks. Some of the things I said to you were much more deep than what I said to her.
Yes, good. I was worried that she was going to be, I don't know, seduced again or something, so she's having a rational reaction, like, what? You said the exact same stuff.
Like the first thing I wanted to do after our call the other day was call my mom and tell her how I found you. I did not say that to her. And I'm being recorded.
Yeah. And AD and Amber are friends. You know, they bond quite a bit in the lounge. Yeah, this is looking bad because he's pointing to, yeah, we didn't hear that phrase. Wow. So, well, we'll hear him out. But the way it looks so far is he's like, no. I said out of the 5 bullet points that I said that were moving and romantic, the kinds of things that you never, you say for the very first time in your life, right? The things that he was saying, given the context that they're headed towards the altar, you know, it's reasonable to conclude that he's literally never said those things to anybody. So among those 5 things, he knows right off the bat, well, sure, I said these 3 things, but I didn't say that one thing, which is kind of a minor one, right? That I wanted to call my mom. I didn't tell her that one. So by implication, you know that you said the other things, that you wanted to ask Amber's father for permission, that you wanted to just end the whole experiment right here and go home with Amber, that you were going to rush over to the other side and get her and take her away. And then he launches into this. So if he wasn't a troll and or a con artist, there's a Venn diagram overlap there, you would think he would be absolutely mortified. Now, maybe he has an interesting emotional expression, but even if it was just a verbal reaction, there would be it would look different. He would be like, he would be worried he was going to lose her, and he would speak to that. He'd be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me explain." You know, there'd be a lot of grasping and pleading or something, or at least recognizing how it looks. Instead, he's trying to sell her again, and trying to return to the bullet points, trying to butter her up as if that's possible.
Like the first thing I wanted to do after our call the other day was call my mom and tell her how I found you. I did not say that to her. And I'm being recorded. It's not like I can hide that.
Yeah.
They're editing it. Hard to know. I wish they would just have the camera stay on Matthew in this moment, but it's possible that that is representative of what he said. And if that's all he's got, then I just hope that AD runs, because odds are, not only is this not a match, but it is one of the most disturbing individuals we've ever seen on this show. Now, I will hold out that they did make Lydia look pretty bad last season, and then later it was revealed to us more information, and we're like, oh, well, it's not that bad. It's still kind of bad, but not as bad as it looked. So I'll hold out for the possibility that that's happening right now.
I like you a lot. And I've been thinking about you all day, thinking about you before I went to bed. Our conversations, they mean so much to me.
I think about you all day too.
No, don't play the nice romantic piano song. No. This is not that. No. AD. Now, maybe it's too early for her and it's hard to swallow. And she'll think about it more as she moves forward. I don't know.
My feelings have not changed for you.
Okay.
All I know is when I walk into this room and I know it's you before you even say something.
What is happening? What is happening? How? Okay. AD, she's a smart person, so maybe she's just caught up. This happens to all of us, right? We are in a long-term relationship, and we have all the data available to us that this is not the right relationship for us. It might even be quite obvious to everyone around, but your heart is still involved and you hold on a bit longer than you wished you had. Is it that?
I feel like my heart's beating out of my chest.
Yeah. Same.
Did I miss something? Sometimes I get terrified that I miss something or I'm not seeing it right. And I'm watching something and I'm like terrified because, I post this and then y'all are like, no, Kirk, because that happens sometimes. I miss something and I'm like freaking out. I mean, that doesn't happen very often. I don't know if it's ever really happened severely, not like this, but I'm worried like they're playing the romantic music. No. Although it is kind of the dark romantic music, so maybe the tone is supposed to have some darkness to it, but it's not. They should be playing horror music right now. Wee. I mean, he's not a serial killer, as far as we know, but that's the music. That should be the tone. Let me actually play the music. That's the sound that should be coming in this scene, not the romantic piano music.
Mm-hmm.
You think me proposing is like the most romantic thing ever? I would love to give you that moment. The moment would be one of the greatest moments of your life.
Ick! One of the greatest moments of your life. You think you've seen everything. Now, maybe she's hanging him out to dry. Maybe she's like playing the game and then she's just going to crush him. Now, maybe in terms of the edit, he did not give an explanation. Okay, yeah. So if you look at the edit, God knows, this is some stuff here. I'm trying not to swear as much anymore. Although sometimes it calls for it. This is some serious shit right here. And I've said this before. I said this with Lydia, I believe, that this is some psychopathic shit. Now, in the edit later on, I learned more information about the background of that story, that it made it look far less psychopathic for Lydia. There was still some issues there, but the bind that she was in, right, because the production had talked to her and given her personality, she's very expressive. It was hard for her in the lounge when she was talking with the other person, and Lydia was having a hard time holding back, So, but there was a point in the season when we didn't know some more details, and it just looked like Lydia was just this manipulative person without any remorse and could just straight up lie to someone's face. But that was the edit, and so I have to consider that right here. But in terms of the edit thus far, if we just look at this from above, looking down, like we're above all those pods, that camera that's, in the rafters looking down on all the pods. And what we see is that we have Matthew. I mean, forget about the awkward, well, and then you think, I've been wondering, is it an awkward act? And then you see all that other behavior. I mean, it's hard to know if any of that other behavior was authentic or played up or act, like when he stood up and walked out. Was that all part of is it a troll? Is he thinking that he's pulling one over and he's going to win? Is he trying to strategize and he has no remorse? Or I don't know. But if we're looking at the edit, he is straight up lying to two women and manipulating them and doesn't believe either one. He's lying to both. He has to be lying to both or I guess he could be lying to one. Well, but he's still lying by omission to at least one of them and then lying a lot to the other one, but he could just be lying straight up to both of them. To what end? What's the goal? Because if trying to manipulate I guess it could be trying to manipulate someone to stay on the show and get to, because that happens sometimes. We've heard that at least the producers will say we'll detect that gamemanship in some couples, that they're not really in love, but they're acting like it because they want to go on to the next phase. So he could be doing that, or he just can't help himself. If he truly is psychopathic or something along those lines, he can't, because it can be almost a compulsion to manipulate and harm at their own expense, by the way. That it's a myth that psychopaths are like Hannibal Lecter or the various psychopaths that you'll see depicted in media. They exist, I suppose, but the vast majority of people who suffer from psychopathy are just constantly shooting themselves in the foot, and they just leave a wake of suffering behind them. And it doesn't take long to realize that the person has something wrong with them or that they can't be trusted. They don't plan ahead. They're notorious at being impulsive. It's part of their the symptom criteria is impulsiveness. They'll lash out emotionally, violently. They'll manipulate, they'll lie and forget the lies that they've said. So, and there's a spectrum, of course, and there's different types. But anyway, so is he that? He just can't help it. He just can't help but to play the game and lie and manipulate. And he's impulsively doing this and he can't control it. I don't know. Wow. But they edit it sometimes. So I can't imagine any scenario. But with Lydia, it was hard to imagine what we would have heard later that would have vindicated her to some extent. So I don't know. We'll just keep watching.
That was going to happen with me. One of the greatest moments of your life. You probably thought that the probability I would ask you was extremely high.
Yeah.
You thought you had the guy who was going to do it, and you were sure. And then you may get to the end of this and somebody doesn't even propose.
So is this I don't know. Okay. There's a possibility that he genuinely likes her and doesn't know how to navigate this scenario, and he made a mistake with Amber. I don't know. But there's another possibility that this is some sort of tried and true method of his. And again, this is in stark contrast to the notion that he is socially awkward. He is masterful at communicating. Now, if I were being communicated to in any of the ways that he is communicating, it would give me the ick, I think. And that happened to me recently, socially. And I was like, the first couple of minutes, I was like, and then pretty quick, oh no. But if you're not a shrink and you don't have experience with people that have these disorders, then it might be harder to detect. And so anyway, this is masterful. He is in full control of communication, and at least he thinks, and if it is working, then my goodness. But I'm still holding out that AD is just kind of playing with him a little bit or testing the waters. Or I don't know. That's the only faith. I need that. I need to have that faith because I can't watch this if she's gonna go back. But for Matthew, he's entering her mind and he's solidifying ideas and emotions that he wants to solidify. That is a very interesting tactic. He's not speaking from his experience. He's not saying, I was going through this and I'm so sorry. I don't want to lose you. He's only speaking about her. And when you are manipulating or if you're I'm not diagnosing him, but psychopathic people with antisocial personality disorder, they have a harder time with expressing their emotions, being vulnerable to express their emotions, and a harder time understanding their emotions. They have a somewhat harder time understanding other people's emotions. They're not emotionless, by the way. That's nonsense. But because of the traumas they went through growing up, it is harder for them. And so they get kind of laser focused sometimes on other people and their experience and will use that to their advantage. they're often pretty calm and cool and will learn over time that if they do certain communication and also they're attracted to manipulative skills training, of which there are a lot. In the past, it would have been like sales training, a book about sales. Now there's internet and YouTube videos and TikTok videos galore about various tips on how to manipulate people. I'm guessing that the vast majority of those videos are all bunk, but if you watch enough of them, you might pick up on some things that work. So anyway, what are we watching?
You thought you had the guy who was going to do it, and you were sure, and then you may get to the end of this and somebody doesn't even propose.
Yeah.
And that probably hurts.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not giving you an ultimatum. I wanted to leave with you yesterday.
You did want to leave with me yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. Yikes. I still don't. The proof's in the pudding, so we'll see. And maybe we'll never find out because AD will break up with him and then we never see Matthew again. I don't know. So I guess in some ways I kind of hope someone holds on to him so we get to see like what is going on here. But there's a chance that some real diabolical stuff is happening right now. And the way he's talking, it's like he's at a board meeting, like he's negotiating some sort of deal. Ick. And he says, I wanted to go home with you yesterday. And then AD says yes. How do you, AD, possibly say yes with such certainty? Now, I'm holding out that AD is just kind of reeling with the new information. And she's believing what she wants to believe. But she'll come around. But, wow. All right, well, let's adjourn there. I want to share something with you. Patron Jack from Florida wrote a poem because for the patrons on Patreon, I will sometimes send these little thank you videos for being a patron. And me and Umberto sent this video of us writing poems or raps of appreciation for the patrons. And then Patron Jack from Florida wrote his own poem in appreciation for the podcast and says, watching 90 Day Fiancé with my bae, I think to myself, what would Kirk Honda say? I burned my tongue from this stew. I took care of myself because I deserve it. I really, really do. You do.